Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Every now and then, my favorite guest comes on the show, and I am so glad to welcome her today. I'm talking, of course, about Jessica McCabe from How to ADHD. Today, we're bringing her specially, sponsored by Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Jessica has been helping the world of ADHD for I don't know how long, but she's truly one of the angels, the guardian angel of ADHD, and her wonderful program, How to ADHD, continually turns out brilliant. As always, I'm just tickled to have Jessica McCabe here with us. Welcome, Jessica. What are we going to talk about today?
So today I wanted to talk about travel when you have ADHD, and specifically related to college, studying abroad, getting those different cultural experiences.
How does your average ADHD person make it over there?
Well, actually, those of us with ADHD or other learning differences don't tend to study abroad as much, but it's actually really good for us. It can increase our self-confidence and keep us engaged. We can rebuild a positive relationship with school and learning. Whereas, a lot of us by the time we get to college are a little bit over having to study and go to class and the whole deal, because we've had sometimes some really challenging or even negative experiences with school. So I think it can kind of restart our love of learning a little bit, because what I find is people with ADHD tend to really be passionate about learning. It's just not the boring kind. So we tend to be interest-based learners, and studying abroad or traveling and studying on your own is a lot more engaging, I think, because you take what you learn and you're able to apply it right away, and you get to try new things. I'm really big on what I call finding your ocean. So there's this quote attributed to Albert Einstein that says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid.
That's wonderful.
I like to say, until it talks to another fish and realizes fish aren't great at climbing trees, and that's okay because there's plenty of ocean. And if you spend all your time trying to get a fish to be able to climb a tree, you'll never see how far it can swim. And so I think of traveling as a way to kind of explore your literal and metaphorical ocean, get a chance to see the different kinds of environments you might be in, the different kinds of work you might do, the different fields of study. You just get to try a lot of things that you might not otherwise be able to try. And I think it also normalizes being different. So a lot of us grow up feeling really weird or different, or like we don't fit in. And when you're abroad, when you're traveling, you don't fit in. And that's a completely normal experience. It would be weird if you did, because this is somebody from a different culture who speaks a different language, who, grew up with a completely maybe different set of values. And so you get used to the idea of being different and being okay in that difference. And I think that that's been really helpful for me. I've gotten a chance to travel a lot. And I think it's great for personal development. I didn't get a chance to study abroad, but I was planning on it in Italy. And so I did something called mylanguageexchange.com. And I found somebody who wanted to learn English. I wanted to learn Italian. And we committed to talking for about an hour every day. And we did it for about a year and a half, and we would spend half the time talking in English and half the time talking in Italian. And at first we were both terrible, because I'd taken 2 semesters of Italian, and I was just like, I know 5 words. And he was about the same with English. And every 5 seconds it was like, aspetta, I have to look something up. And it was really stop and go. But eventually we were able to have full on conversations. But even as we got to the point where we were able to speak each other's language, we still recognized we still come from different cultures, different backgrounds. And we're, Italian's my second language. English is his second language. And so we made a deal that we'll assume that if there's ever anything that the other person says that upsets us, that we'll assume that something got lost in translation. And I still use that today, because the truth is, even if you speak the same language as somebody else, there are things that get lost in translation. And so just taking a second to be like, what did you mean by X or whatever can be really helpful, because what I mean when I use this word or phrase or even this tone might be completely different from what you mean when you use it. And so little things like that, I think, are really helpful in contributing to your own personal development. I've taken philosophies that I've found in different parts of the world. I went to Costa Rica, and they have this saying called pura vida. It means, pure life. And it's a very positive, optimistic way of looking at the world, and just different things you pick up everywhere you go. And I think that a great way to travel, and I wish that I'd gotten a chance to do it, is to study abroad. If you get a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. Did you ever get a chance to do that?
I did. When I was actually between 11th and 12th grade, I went to Togo in West Africa, part of a program called Crossroads Africa, and we built a schoolhouse. And it was actually a French-speaking country, so all the things you're mentioning, I experienced, and actually I fell in love too. Talk about feeling different. It was a wonderful experience, but a very anxious-making experience.
I think that's why it's probably really helpful to do it with a school like Landmark that understands the specific challenges that come with learning differences, the anxiety of being in a new environment and not having your routines, because all your routines get disrupted anytime you travel. I've been traveling a lot lately, and I'm actually going to take a break for a little bit because it is exhausting and anxiety inducing to not know, like, simple things like, where am I going to get my coffee this morning? Or like, I don't know where to go to work out or whatever. And your organizational challenges are exacerbated. So it's nice to have somebody who can support you through stuff like that. But I also got some tips, and these are from my own personal experience with traveling, and then also some from some of the brains on Twitter and on Discord that told me about their personal experience with studying abroad, and they had a lot of tips. So one of them is get organized before you leave, like right away. As soon as you apply to study abroad, like start a folder on your computer that's like a digital folder, and in that digital folder you have like all your individual folders of like, okay, these are my applications, and this is class planning, and this is my travel docs or whatever, because trying to come up with that at the last minute or when you're right about to get on a plane is incredibly stressful. Like we're trying to like reduce the amount of anxiety that you're going to have, because you're going to have some, right? You're going to be in a foreign country. You're going to be doing things that you've never done before. There's going to be some level of anxiety, but there's a lot we can do to like dampen that ahead of time. And talking to your mental health providers, if you have a therapist or something, like talk to them to prepare for the culture shock, because you're going to miss your family and friends. You're going to miss, your corner Starbucks. You're going to miss things, and it's going to feel, one of the brains said it can feel kind of like depression. And another one said, like, this is a totally normal part of the experience of studying abroad. At some point, you will be like, why did I do this? This was a terrible idea. I should not have come. But he's like, just get past that. It's a completely normal part of it. You have these you have these doubts and you second guess yourself, but then you move past that. And it can be a really enriching, wonderful experience. If you figure out your meds ahead of time. So you know this as a psychiatrist, like, can you actually get meds ahead of time, like for the whole semester if you need to before you leave?
Well, it depends on what state you live in and the flexibility of the regulations. Usually you can. But sometimes you can't, and it can be a real problem. If you want 3 months of a controlled substance, sometimes you can't get it, and then you're stuck trying to get it abroad, which is not easy. I've had patients literally have to do without for part of their stay abroad.
Yeah. So that's definitely something to talk to your school about too. Like, if I'm not going to be on my meds, like, what do I do? Can I get extra accommodations or have a little bit more time to turn in assignments or whatever it is? And yeah, just have a plan ahead of time, because there's nothing worse than like you're about to jump on a plane and you're like, I have one pill left and I'm going to be gone for a week. So different countries have different restrictions and regulations, and getting that figured out well ahead of time is definitely helpful. And then also make sure they're in your carry-on. In a more practical tip, in case your suitcase doesn't arrive when you do, your medication, like a couple changes of clothes, like anything that you're going to need definitely right away is helpful. Yeah.
Advanced planning with medication is really important. Yeah. No, you want to have it. You want to have it with you, and know what those rules are. That's key, because you can get arrested if, different countries have different regulations. And if you don't have proof that the medication is prescribed and it's in a bottle with the prescription on the bottle, I mean, depending upon what country, you can be, with all innocent intention, next thing find yourself arrested in jail on a serious drug charge.
Right, and you have to disclose that as well. So on the entry forms, a lot of times it'll ask you if you're traveling with a controlled substance, and you have to say yes. And so, yeah, having it in the original pill bottles and having a copy of your prescription is definitely worth the trouble of going to, because I can tell you from like sweating bullets in another country going like, if I claim this on my customs form, like, am I going to get arrested? It is not worth that level of anxiety. And yeah, some countries, I think Japan, I can't actually take my medication into at all. Like, just definitely look into it.
Yeah, find out in advance so you don't get arrested when you get there.
Speaking of which, I also recommend meditating. Anytime you're traveling, like, meditate. On the plane is actually a great time to do that, because it's hard to get restful sleep on a plane. But meditating, you can get quite good rest and just still be sitting up on the plane. So I definitely recommend meditating as well.
Yeah, but you're right, though. It's not just slogans and mindsets. I still think, as a team, we can figure anything out. The never worry alone solution, I think, is the best one.
Yeah, tell me about that. So the never worry alone.
Yeah, just no matter what it is, just have friends around, have people who care about you, and you can get through anything. I mean, that's what life is all about. Life is one problem after another, one surprise or another, and the way we turn it into something we can deal with, even have fun dealing with, is having the right people with us, the people who care about us and we care about. I mean, I think, I'm 69, and if I've learned one thing over my 69 years, it's all about having the right people with you, the right friends. That's it. That's the answer to life right there in a nutshell.
Yeah. So having the people around you, and then admitting when you're struggling. That was a lesson that I had to learn too. Like, you don't want to admit that you're struggling because you don't want people to think less of you. But the truth is that, Brené Brown talks about this, that vulnerability is what builds connection. It's what builds relationships. It strengthens our relationships. And then we get the support that we need. Exactly.
Well, you are, as always, a delight to talk to. And we should mention our sponsor, a place both Jessica and I are devoted to, Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, the college of choice for students who learn differently. Thank you, Landmark College, for sponsoring this episode. And if you'd like more information about Landmark College, please go to lcdistraction.org. Jessica McCabe, you are a blessing, and everything you do so very, very well.
Thank you, Dr. Hallowell. I'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.